Three games to break down today on PuckTime. We have the Penguins, Predators, Bruins, Oilers, Vancouver Canucks taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm going to talk about some props. We'll get some best bets and all kinds of great promotional stuff. I am happy to be joined by Mr. Don Buster. Buster, look forward to talking hockey with your brother. Sometimes it's nice to have the shows with just two of us, although we are going to miss Carmine here today while he's having some fun in Las Vegas. How are you, Buster?
I'm good, Andrew. I'm good. Yeah, we will miss Brother Carmine, but, I'm not going to miss him too much because he's going to Vegas for I think it's been, the 12th time this year. So I kind of envy Carmine that he's going all the time like that. But I can't complain. I'm sitting here on a beach in Mexico, so no complaints out of this guy.
I'm starting to think that, does Pearson Airport fly anywhere else, Buster? Do they have any flights going out other places? But does he know there are sports books in other cities in America now besides Vegas? That's my question. There are books elsewhere, not just, you don't have to take a 5-hour flight to go to a sports book, but I guess maybe you do.
Yeah. Again, there's, especially close to me, you could even go to AC if you wanted, whatever, but Vegas is pretty nice. And I'll tell you, Andrew, I've been there many, many times. I don't know, I can't even count how many times I've been there. And I was just there in November, and you know what? I kid you, at this age, I still get excited after like maybe 30 years going to Vegas. I still get excited when we fly into that McCarran Airport and go and look at the Strip. It's something different. That's for sure.
It's exciting. And of course, we got great people there. He's going to be at the game tonight, Vancouver and Vegas, with Brian and Marco and their better halves, of course. So I'm sure they'll be enjoying that one. But let's not waste any time, Buster. Let's drive into our first game, Pittsburgh and Nashville. Now, Pittsburgh's been playing a bit better as of late. They're kind of hanging around that wild card hunt. And the funny thing is, Sidney Crosby, he hasn't really been producing that much as far as his goals are concerned. And he was asked by the media yesterday. I saw kind of a funny clip asking him, is it worrying for you, or is it frustrating not scoring goals lately? And he said, well, usually I start scoring again after you start asking me about it. So why didn't you ask me about it sooner? And I love when you see Sid kind of show that personality a little bit. And you got the Nashville Predators, of course, that I think you and I would both agree they've underachieved throughout the entire season. So there's really only one way for them to go, and it's up, right? And they do have a great goaltender. They do have some great goal scorers. How do you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, Andrew, coming into the year, I think we all talked about, the three of us, how much we really like this Nashville club right at the beginning. But we've had Nashville on the show a bunch of times this year already, and I keep saying, just waiting for them to gel and pick things up here. Nashville is actually tied for dead last in the NHL. Like, I was looking at the standings the other day. That's crazy with the talent they have on that team, with the goaltending. But they have been playing a lot better of late. They beat the Rangers. They beat Dallas. And now they get a chance to play Pittsburgh. And I really like Nashville in this spot here. It was 140 when I got it the other night. I actually put this out last night for my clients as a best bet. It's one of my favorite games tonight. I am a little bit worried because Pittsburgh, as you said, Andrew, have been playing a little bit better hockey. But even that last game, they win that game 3-2 against LA. I tell you, I don't know if LA is just – I know. I really thought LA had them beat, but Pittsburgh, they scored late. They scored overtime. And, they win games like that. So that's always – you got to worry about – going against the Penguins. But I'm not a big fan of this Penguins club. I see them regressing more and more as time goes on, and I do see Nashville picking it up. Whether they can pick it up all the way to get to a playoff spot, geez, they've dug themselves a huge hole. But remember, it is only December, and we've got a long way to go in the NHL schedule. So I do like Nashville here. And another reason I'm on Nashville here is because even though Pittsburgh's been playing well, they do a lot of that damage at home. I want to go against Pittsburgh on the road. They are 5-10 on the road, and a couple of those games they probably shouldn't have won either. I like playing against the Penguins on the road. We will take Nashville in this spot. Just give you a little thing on the total here. The total's at 6. I actually would lean to the under. They've actually gone 8-2 to the under, these clubs, and Nashville has gone 8 of their last 10 to the under. Pittsburgh's 3-3. I think Nashville dictates this pace. Don't blame anyone for betting this game under the 6. That's for sure. I could see Nashville winning 3-1, 3-2. So give me Nashville, Andrew.
Buster, I share a lot of the same opinions that you do here in this one, and I think one of the ones that I really share the same opinion with you is about the Pittsburgh Penguins at home versus on the road. And it's funny, this season on PuckTime, I find myself a lot focusing on road and home splits, whereas I feel like in the past we've talked about how that's become less and less meaningful. But there's certain teams it matters for, right? I'm not going to say for all 32 teams road home matters that much. But even look at the New Jersey Devils right now. It seems like they're a better team on the road than they're at home, which is kind of weird to say, right? You're supposed to be better at home than you are on the road. And Carolina, of course, for many years, they've been a great home team. We talk about Vegas, certain teams, and even our Canadians, especially with how bad they've been over the years. I trust them more when they're playing at home, at least. But the thing is with Pittsburgh, they're still a one-line team. That's the worry for them. They pick up Tomasino and that little trade they had, but let's be real here. If it's not Sid, if it's not Rickard Rakell, and if it's not Brian Rust, you're kind of asking yourself, who the hell is scoring for this team right now? Evgeny Malkin will give you something every now and then. I'm not going to discredit him, obviously, but that one line with Crosby is kind of the line that will do it all for them. So, and I looked at a lot of these numbers, and I've been kind of laughing lately, Buster, because as yourself, I'm a diehard hockey guy. I watch a lot of games, but I have been becoming a little more analytical. And when I look at some of these numbers, both these teams actually aren't giving up that many chances over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They really haven't. I mean, you mentioned the under there, and I share that same opinion that you do, but I'm always trying to keep you guessing here, Buster. So I'm going to just pick one team to go under their team total. And I'm going to go with Pittsburgh under 2.5 goals at plus 105. That way, in case Nashville continues to have some success, in case they actually do score some goals here at home. And let's be real here. If we think there's going to be one team that can potentially allow some goals in this one, it's probably the goaltending of Pittsburgh. It's probably the defense of Pittsburgh. Like I said, they've been playing better, but we're going to get a focused and motivated Nashville team. With a total like this, I'd rather just focus on one team to go under their specific team total, and that's Pittsburgh for me, under 2.5 goals at plus 105. And, it's interesting, Buster, because that line that we saw the other night for Nashville and New York Rangers, a lot of people were scratching their head at that line, right? Because it was one of those things where, are you seriously going to give me this price on New York? They're not that bad. That's all you heard from people. And, of course, we all know what the result is. So, you've been doing this a long time, Buster. I want to ask you something. How do you approach teams like this? Because the simple answer is for a team like New York is you keep fading them because the value's not there. But at this point in time right now with Nashville, if somebody out there hasn't been betting on them that much during this bad start to their season, should they look to start betting on them at this point? Are we going to get better prices, do you think?
Well, Andrew, you probably will get a little bit better prices. I know they have a couple tough games. I think they have Carolina. They have a couple of tough games at home coming up before the Xmas break. So I'll probably be looking at them more come the new year and see their schedule. It seems like they have been playing a real tough schedule. Now, I haven't looked into what their whole schedule and who they've been playing, but it always seems that they're playing some tough clubs. It's so. But then again, this league is becoming really, really tight, even for the maybe top 20, 22 clubs or whatever. You only have maybe 8 real stragglers, if I'd like to say. But those teams, like a Columbus or like our Canadians, they can come, they show up and they can beat teams. Montreal beat Edmonton 3-0 at home. Those things. That's what you love about NHL. It's and that's why I always say, don't lay those big numbers on the road with these great clubs because, it's a long season, 82 games. It's a long season, and sometimes these guys take some teams for granted and then they get caught, right? But if you like Nashville, like I know we do, you had mentioned something before, maybe a couple of weeks ago when we had Nashville on, about they might be a little long in the tooth, and they might be. So it'll be interesting to see how they do in the second part. If they start stinking it up again, I'll just put them on the no bet list. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely. We all have that list. We all have those teams that we want to stay far away from. A good example, Bush, you talk about how competitive the league really can be. Winnipeg had a back-to-back against San Jose and Anaheim, right? Two of the weaker team. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think, San Jose and Anaheim. And, I looked at that, and typically you would look at that back-to-back and say, okay, that's an easy 2 wins, right? No problem. Easy 2 wins. No, because unfortunately, there's probably going to be one of those spots that's going to be a letdown. And I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, but with the prices you get sometimes in those particular situations, you kind of look at the 2 dogs, the 2 crappy teams, and you think, okay, if Winnipeg loses the first one, you bet them the second game. If they win Wednesday, or Tuesday, you bet them Wednesday, and that's the NHL for you. Like some leagues, it would be very simple. Yes, this team is just better than the other league, but sometimes these situational spots, as we say, you're going to get the more motivated team. And this is why there's some of these cliche handicapping terms that I don't believe in, but there's some of these ones like letdown that I actually do. I'm a believer in that term because I'm a firm believer. Yeah, I think that is one that matters because if you're Florida and you're playing the Oilers, or you're Florida and you're playing the Ottawa Senators, what means more to you, right? I mean, I think we both know the answer to that one. So I just thought that was kind of interesting to bring up. I mean, look, San Jose and Anaheim, you'd think Winnipeg could beat both of them, but hey, they go 1-1 in that span. All right, so we go from Pittsburgh and Nashville to Edmonton and Boston. This is going to be a good one, Buster. Did you have any closing thoughts on the other game? It looks like you wanted to say something.
Well, I was just going to say to you, I don't know if you watched that game last night, which I did, that Anaheim dominated that whole game. They had to come from behind to win, and they scored that late goal with 24 seconds, I believe it was, to win 3-2. But they dominated. They outplayed Winnipeg. So there is something to these 3 and 4 nights, back-to-backs, even with these really good teams. There's definitely something there. So, I use that a lot in my handicap. Not that, I looked at that Anaheim game last night, but I can't bring myself to bet Anaheim, even if it was a back-to-back for Winnipeg. Just can't do it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it's one thing to say out loud on a podcast, it might be a bad spot for Winnipeg. It's a whole other argument to actually put real money on Anaheim. It's more like telling people to stay away from Winnipeg than it actually is telling them to bet on Anaheim. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's exactly. And I do that on here all the time. I say, you know what, this is a game you just don't want to bet this, bet the side or bet the total. There's 15 games past this game because it's just too tough. I definitely would have said that yesterday if we had the Anaheim. I would have said, you know what, I'd back to back. And they didn't play that well in San Jose either. They won, but they didn't play that well. So, but anyways, this Boston Edmonton game, as you we're saying here, is our next game. Kind of like the Oilers here, Andrew, but you know what? 185, 190. Jeez. Even last year, I know the Bruins have gone a little bit south a bit, but you know what? They're playing pretty good hockey of late. Although I do like Edmonton here, Edmonton have been playing great hockey. They've won 8 of their last 10. They lost that last game against Florida. But I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you do remember. So I shouldn't have started that with I don't know if you remember. I know you remember last year when Edmonton went on that run. Well, you know when that big run ran, they went 16 wins in a row. And believe me, I know around win 12, I was trying to fade them a bunch of those spots and kept losing. So, but that right around when that was, Andrew, it was December 21st last year. So I'm not sure what it is with these Oilers if they, because right at the beginning, their special teams were just horrific from the first month, and then they're starting to catch up. And so I think Edmonton's playing great hockey. I know they lost to Florida the last game, but they're playing some real nice hockey. Not laying the big juice here. I do like the regulation at 120. The thing is, Boston also has been probably playing their best hockey this season. They've won 6 of their last 8 games. But here's the kicker for me where I think Edmonton is the play. Never mind them just playing really great hockey. This will be the last game of the Bruins 5-game road trip. And sometimes those last games, they either, tried to go for it. Obviously, played Edmonton, it's maybe a little bit different that they'll be playing as hard as they can. But sometimes they don't just play because it's been a long road trip, right? It's hard on these guys. No matter how much luxury they have, it's not easy. So, and then they go home and they get Washington and Buffalo before Christmas. So they might be looking forward to that, walking into Christmas with, 8 wins out of 11 games would be all right, I would think, right, for Boston. So, again, I can't bet the 180, 190 on Edmonton. I do like the regulation time for the regulation line, minus 120 for Edmonton. As for the total at 6, it's kind of tough for me to pick. The last 10 have gone 8-2 to the under. The way these teams both are playing right now, I don't know if I want to bet an under. I don't want to bet an under at the best of times. If I saw 6.5 here, I'd be betting the under. But at 6, I just don't want really no part of it. And just one more thing about Boston. These 4 games that they've played on the road trip, every game has gone over. So that's another reason why you might I can see people wanting to bet over, but these teams play under every time they get together. So those kind of things, the stats on the over, the stats on the under. To me, you got to pass the under. I got to take Edmonton in regulation.
Buster, it sounds like if you have a good day today, I have a good day today. We're on a lot of the same pages here in this one. My first period totals have been good this year, and I haven't been playing too many of them. And you mentioned all the overs for the Boston Bruins. For me, I'm going to look towards the first period over 1.5 here. When I look at this game, I look at a situation here for the Boston Bruins, as you mentioned, who are playing better hockey right now. They had that loss against the Seattle Kraken, and it seemed to just wake them up. It really did. I mean, they lost to when you can respond after losing 5-1 with a win, with a 5-1 score, what better way to respond than that? And it was an in-season revenge spot against Vancouver. I loved that spot for the Bruins against them. They go ahead and get the job done against the Flames, and that was a game they had to come back in as well, which when you're on a road trip and you're trying to build, momentum and have success, it's not going to be easy always, right? You need to have one of those games be a game that you had to come back in. I believe they were down 3-1 at one point in that game against the Calgary Flames, and they end up coming back and winning 4-3 here. The kicker is, if we're going to talk about things that are meaningful, I mean, you got to think Edmonton is pissed off, for lack of better words, for that Florida game. I mean, that Florida game pretty much describes what Edmonton has been for the past few years, right? I mean, if you tell most teams in the National Hockey League that they scored 5 goals in a game, Buster, they should be telling you that we won that damn game. They should be telling you we scored 5, we won. No, they allowed 6. If Edmonton would have scored 7 goals the other night, Florida would have scored 8. If they would have scored 9, Florida would have scored 10. Florida just seems that much better. They have that extra edge over them, and it seems like they kind of just they have their number like that. So Edmonton will not be happy, and especially playing at home, I think there's like that added motivation. So when I look at these type of games, when my first period totals, I'm looking for added motivation and urgency early on. Sometimes for particular teams, let's throw out the Minnesota Wild, for example. If they were off an embarrassing game where they let in a ton of goals, then maybe in their next game, I would look towards the under or even the first period under, because that's the kind of team that they are. Similar to the Hurricanes, right? But for a team like the Oilers, they know how to respond in one way and one way only, and it's speed, and it's a fast start. And what I like is with the increase of volume on these first period plays and just the increase in scoring, although it's kind of slowed down lately in the NHL, we've seen a lot of bad prices on these first period totals. I'm seeing minus 130, Buster, here, and I'm fine with that one. That one works well for me. It's okay. I'll take that, and I think both teams can get involved. You mentioned the road trip. I'm curious your thoughts on something here, because these days in the NHL, it's so important to have a well-rested goaltender. And we see now the Bruins with Swayman, and of course they get rid of Allmark, who was the 1A, 1B punch. He's dominating over there in Ottawa now. But Korpisalo has only had one start on this road trip for the Bruins. And the start was against the Kraken when they lost 5-1. Do you think it's a problem at this point that Seattle or Boston realizes how many games they're going to have to play Swayman, and that fans are looking at it saying, has the team already lost faith in Korpisalo? Because they're going to go from a 60-40 or a 50-50 split buster to, an 80-20 or an 85-15 from 1 year to the next. Swayman's workload's about to get pretty big, I think.
Yeah, you're right, Andrew. Now, I'll have to tell you, Hallmark is playing really good hockey over in Ottawa now. So, those kind of things happen. I don't know if Swayman can handle all that either. So you're going to have Korpisalo play the way he can. I think he's capable, but you're right. If they don't trust him, these head coaches, they it's like everybody, kind of like everybody in life. Well, at least when you're old like me, you don't like change, right? If I'm running with something really good, I'm going to keep running with that. And these coaches in the NHL are no different, but they sometimes have a long-term effect, which could maybe not hurt them in regular season, but once Boston makes the playoffs, could be another story. So they're going to have to get him going, that's for sure. So right now, Andrew, I understand we will be going to Andrew's, I'm not sure what you call it. I know Carmine always screws it up, but I'll just call it Andrew winning props bets. You came out of the gate on fire, but as everybody knows, these things are tough. You get some bad luck. I've watched games where, you know what, Andrew? I know my guys had 3 shots on goal. I've watched the game. I go back, 1. And I have over 1.5. I'm thinking, how the hell did that happen? They were right there. So sometimes these shots and goal. One night, I forget who I had, somebody off Vegas. They had already listed 3 shots and goal. I was going to bed thinking that I had that winner. Woke up in the morning, no, 2 shots, loser. So some of the times these shots and goal props bother me. So I've been leaning to go on these point props lately, but as I know, I'm going to listen now to the master prop.
You're right, Buster, because it's a lot more rare to see them take away a point from a player than it is to take away a shot, and it can be extremely, extremely frustrating. Guys, a great special we have going at WagerTalk right now is buy January and get the remainder of December for free. It's a huge deal. I still have my special available in the NHL. Code SEASON150 takes $150 off my full NHL season. We've now hit 11 straight plays in the NHL, so it's a big run for us. Biggest run I've had in quite some time. Hopefully number 12 is tonight. But let's jump in to 2 player props on tap for Thursday. The first one is going to be on Luke Hughes from the New Jersey Devils, one of the very talented Hughes brothers, and we're going to take him to get an assist. And when I look at Luke Hughes, this is the funny thing, guys. He has a point in 4 straight games. That point prop is plus 135. So ask yourself, how many of those games that he had a point did he score a goal? Because the answer is 0. So people ask me all the time, how often are you willing to just make that extra bit of money taking the assist versus risking that player getting a goal? And with a guy like Luke Hughes, I'm very, very confident in risking that here. We're getting plus 175 for a guy quarterbacking the power play, getting a ton of minutes. He's always jumping into the rush offensively, and he goes from plus 135 for a point to plus 175 for an assist. This is something that I can't pass up on, guys, and I feel confident about this spot for the Devils against the Columbus Blue Jackets, a team giving up a ton of chances, a ton of shots every single game. Let's go to our last one here, and I got to shout out Andy Lang here for this because he has been isolating defensemen in the NHL for their player props, but also isolating guys that just have 1.5 shot on goal props. Not 2.5, but 1.5 here. 5 straight away games for Charlie McAvoy, Buster. He's gone over 1.5 shots on goal. 9 straight games overall, he's gone over 1.5 shots on goal. So, and the cool thing is the price here is minus 130, and he's gone over 9 straight games. You got to love that. And this is one of those ones, hey, maybe I could be catching the streak a little bit late. And sometimes it does worry you. I'm jumping in on the 9th straight. That is a little bit tough, but 1.5 at minus 130 when a guy's hit at 9 straight. I can't pass this up, guys. They're playing against the Edmonton Oilers. They're going to need some goals, and they're going to need some energy from their blue line on the last game of their road trip. So 2 player props for me, Buster, on this slate here on a Thursday. Usually I give out 3, but decided to just isolate it to 2. And the funny thing is I find it so interesting, Buster, when you look at these defenseman props, because look, defensemen score more these days. They jump into the rush. They're offensively talented. Every defenseman wants to be like Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar these days. But when I looked at it this morning, Luke Hughes' point prop was plus 135, and his assist prop was plus 175. You know which way I had to go, Buster. Maybe I'm being greedy, but the guy doesn't really score that many goals. I'm earning an extra bit of money here with just that assist prop. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like both those plays. And it's funny with that McAvoy. He was just terrible. I think he had one game with 1 point in the first 10 or so. He was terrible, and he had a really good year last year. Now he's starting to come around, and maybe he goes for a nice little run. There's guys that have been going 15 out of 17, stuff like that. So, yeah, I like that play tonight for you for sure. And Hughes, of course, yeah, why not? They're playing Columbus, and you got to believe they might put 40 shots on goal tonight. And I might get to that game in our show bets later on. So, yeah, like those plays. And, again, I have wrote them down, and we'll have a little bit of pizza money on them myself.
I like it. Hopefully we can cash those tickets, and look forward to hearing that hopefully you're on the same page as me with that Devils game. But let's get to a game in Sin City tonight. Vegas hosting the Vancouver Canucks. Always a good one, actually, when these two teams go head-to-head here. We'll have to look for a bald man cheering on his bets in the crowd. Hopefully he's got a lot of bets going on. And we're talking about Carm, guys. Make sure you look for him on TV. If you're watching, he'll be there with Brian and Marco. But this should actually be a good game here. And this Canucks team, I talk about road-home splits. They've been better on the road, Buster, as far as units earned than they have been at home. I don't know what it is for the hard-earned, ticket buyers and customers and fans that are going to the games, but they're putting on a better performance on the road than they have been at home. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, you're right. I have a lot of friends that have season's tickets to Vancouver. They're not too pleased, but it was that way. They told me it was that way last year too. If you go back, Vancouver's been I don't know. This team just plays a little bit better on the road. Although you wouldn't know it from last night's game. They blow that 2-goal lead, and they lose to Utah. So this game now, they got to come to Vegas less than 24 hours later. 3rd game in 4 nights, and they face a very good Vegas club who are off a 3-game road trip, but the last game was Sunday. So that whole thing goes right out the window. They're good and rested for this game. And I do like Vegas here. I don't know if I want to lay that 165, 170, though, with Vegas. I'll see if it comes down a little bit. If Vancouver money comes in a bit later, but I don't think so. It'd be just because of the situation for Vancouver. I do like Vegas in the first period. You might see sometimes you can get a little bit better price on the first period. You might get 140 or so. I haven't made a move yet, but I plan on doing that. I don't know if I want to do the puck line here because Vegas, sometimes they are been very good in the first period, so that's for sure. But sometimes they come out and they put a lot of shots on net, but they just can't score. So that's always a concern when you're laying the puck line in the first period. But what I think will happen here is that Vegas will kind of open it up because they've been rested, right? So and Vancouver tonight, you got to remember Demko played last night. So there's no Demko. And I think that will help Vegas tonight. And again, to me, Vegas is a play. How you want to play it, I'll let all the experts in the chat and people that watch this decide. But I think Vegas is a play. Who knows? You might be able to play it every way I talked about, and it could be all winners. As for the total, I do like the over now. That line was 6 last night, about 2 in the morning when I do my work. It's down. They've bet it down to 5.5. And I kind of liked it over anyways. But I'm a little surprised with Vancouver on that back-to-back. Vancouver needs to open it up a little bit. They are capable of scoring. They've got the talent to score some goals. Vegas is going to score. The last 10 games between these guys has been 5-5. But let's see what Vegas at home have been an over machine. They're now 9-4-1 to the over. They actually lost. I think the last couple have gone under for Vegas at home. But they just play a lot more open at home ice for Vegas. That's for sure. And this isn't really a handicap, but I'm going to throw it in there too. We got 3 of our brothers going to the game tonight, and I don't see them sitting around betting under 5.5. They're all going to be cheering for that over. I'm going to cheer with them. I like the over here. I like Vegas, however you want to play them, and the over 5.5. Grab that before they gets back up to 6.
Yeah, the 5.5s and 6s have that. I find that so crucial, Buster. And yesterday, my 5% play was Stars Leafs over 5.5. And before I went to bed, it was 6 at like half the books. So I didn't release it till the morning, and then I woke up and it was 5.5 at most of the books. And the game, it actually hit in just 2 periods, but then it was 4-2 for most of the game. So a lot of these totals with 6, they're pushing for a lot of the game. Like, you'll land on 6 and you're waiting for that empty netter, or you're waiting for that late goal. So as you mentioned, it really is important to make sure you're jumping on. If you see a 5.5 there at some point and you want to bet the over and you end up betting on a 6, it's kind of like a -3 being out there in the NFL, but you ended up betting a 3.5. You played yourself. It's just a bad bet, and you could have just got a better number if you shopped around. It's just simple as that. Is that a good comparison, or maybe not, Buster? What do you think?
Well, it's not bad. It's not bad, Andrew. Maybe that's a little harsh with the 3.5, because you're not going to do that. But you're right. You're really right, though. You should just pass that then. If you've missed it, you probably should just pass. You don't want to get into that. But it's funny though, and I've said this before. I told myself last year, because I bet a couple of games that looked like they could be dead unders, and I did bet a couple under 5.5. I can't win them. Bottom line, I can't win them. And now in this year, as each year goes by, these 5.5s, they can go. And I've said this many a times on the show. It's 3-1 with 5 minutes, and you've got 4-2 in a heartbeat. You've got teams. There was a game this week. I'm trying to. My old mind won't let me think that far back. But somebody pulled their goaltender. I think it was like 3 or 4-0. They pulled their goaltender with 7 or 8 minutes left in the game. And so, how can you be betting under 5.5 when these coaches are doing stuff that I would have never saw happen even 10 years ago? Just crazy when they pull their goaltender. So, you know what? I try to avoid these, but when I see a 5.5 with 2 clubs, like these 2 clubs that Vegas trends over anyways, and Vancouver can score, geez, I tell you, to me, either bet it over or pass. You never bet it under, that's for sure. So, but anyways,
Buster, I'm telling you, I'm not going to act like I've discovered sliced bread here with this, but I'm going to say that I think that the team total under with the 5.5s, if you like an under, just pick one team to go under 2.5, because typically there's one team that gets 4 or 5 and one team that lands on 1 or 2, right? You're better off just picking the team you think might suck that night instead of hoping they both go under. Because like you said, the empty net always screws you. Every time the empty net will get you to 6 or something like that. So speaking of getting screwed, how much did the Vancouver Canucks get screwed by the NHL schedule makers? Because they got screwed. All right. Like you talk about rest. They got screwed, man. Vegas, like you said, they haven't played like all week long. Meanwhile, Vancouver went to overtime last night. I mean, if you're out to dinner and you're a Vegas Golden Knight player last night, you're like, oh man, this is awesome. I hope I hope Vancouver goes to triple overtime. Well, they can't do that in the regular season, but you hope that they're tired, and you hope it's just the most, exhausting game possible. And I know it's not a big road trip by any means from, them going from Utah to Vegas, but still it means something. But I'm not really usually a fan of the term look ahead, but let's be real here. Which team do you think Vancouver cared more about in this 2-game swing? Do they care more about Utah or do they care more about Vegas? We all know the answer to that one. So I think it's going to be interesting. I always say that a back-to-back is only a spot to fade when a team lost the first game of that back-to-back. It's the same thing about first game back at home after a road trip. It's only a fade spot if the team had a successful road trip. If it was a bad trip, they're motivated. Same thing with the last game of a road trip. If it's the last game of a road trip and it's been a bad road trip, they're still focused. They're not kind of taking it lightly. Well, I think Vancouver is live in this one. So I do agree with you on the over, but I think Vancouver is a live dog in this one. Despite the fatigue and despite the rest for Vegas, Vancouver, to me, in this one here is going to be ready, locked and loaded. And sometimes, is it rest or rust? Vegas has been off for, what is it, since Sunday they haven't played? I'll take the team that's going to be pissed off after a bad game last night that ended up going to overtime. And I guess it wasn't a bad game, but Utah came back on them and then won in overtime. So that'll be a little sprinkle for me on this team here, the underdog on the road, the Vancouver Canucks. All right, Buster, that great deal. By January, get the rest of December for free, no added cost. We got all kinds of great stuff going on at the website right now. I know you do multiple sports. What's new and exciting for you, and what's your best bet?
Yeah, Andrew, you're right. That is a great deal, 30 days. You get buy an all-access pass for January. You get the rest of December free. And when you go to my page and do that, you'll be able to get all 5% releases come with that package, of course. And for us, we have college football 5% play up for the playoffs on Saturday. We already loaded it at the site. We are number one lifetime profit leader in 5% college football releases. So head on over, grab that great special that we have going. Go to Don Buster at WagerTalk.com and check that out. For my show play tonight, I am going to summon my Andrew McGinnis here, and we're going to play a game that we haven't talked about, but we have talked about team totals. Andrew's mentioned it a bunch of times today. I'm playing New Jersey team total over 3.5 minus 135. These teams get together. They do play overs. They've gone over 6-3 the last 9 to the over. But New Jersey, the reason why I'm not going to play this over 6.5 today is because New Jersey has been playing some great defense, and I mean really good defense. Last 4 games, they've only allowed 5 goals. And when New Jersey's played with these guys with Columbus, in their last 5 games, 4 of those games, they've had 4 goals or more. So we're going to go with New Jersey team total over 3.5 for our show play. Want to thank you, Andrew, for having me on. Always great talking hockey with you. And I guess I'll see you on Monday. And as always, best of luck with all your plays, everyone. And have a great day from beautiful, sunny Mexico.
Buster, Merry Christmas, man. If I don't see you, hopefully I will be seeing you and we'll talk to you still. But Merry Christmas to you and your family. And hope you have a great time in the warm weather of Mexico, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna see you on Monday. I got the word from Brother Carmine that that I guess he's flying back from Vegas on Monday. So I will give you all my best regards on Monday for sure.
All right, I got to talk to Carm's assistant, man. Keep track of that schedule of his. It's hard to keep track. Look, I just got one play tonight. One play in the NHL. Looking forward to it. But again, guys, that great deal. By January, get December free. It's going to be so many plays going right now. I'm riding an 11-0 run in the NHL. Use that promo code season150. Take $150 off my full season. Don't buy all these daily picks, guys. I'm on this great run. A lot of you guys are joining me every single day. Buy a 7-day, buy a 30-day. or join me for that full season with Season150. Great promo code to take $150 off the full season. And I really like today's play. I mean, I didn't really love it at first, this whole card, and then this play stuck out to me when I got to it. So really looking forward to it. Hope you guys will join me on tonight's game, but join me long-term as well for the full entire season. All right, this is the play I like here for my free play. It was a big swing and a miss yesterday on Minnesota. I'm here to own that. It was not a good underdog play. Did not go very well. Let's get back on track. Let's take the over in Calgary and Ottawa. Look, Allmark has been good, but the workload has been a lot for him. Very similar to what I talked about on PuckTime with Swayman for the Bruins. When you have a goaltender expected to start pretty much every game for your team, the fatigue factor can certainly set in. And we've seen Ottawa win several games now, low scoring. I believe we'll see at least a little bit of regression tonight against the Calgary Flames. Meanwhile, the Flames blew a lead late in the game last time out against Boston. They lost 4-3. They're starting to look like the Flames that I expected them to be. Poor defense, goaltending regressing a little bit. This should be over. This should be an over game. Over 5.5. I'm shocked this total's 5.5. It should be a 6 at the bare minimum. I think we see goals in this situational spot for both teams. Give me the over, Senators and Flames. And that will do it. Let's cash these picks. Let's cash all these tickets here. Buster over at WagerTalk.com. Myself at WagerTalk.com. Every single handicapper right now, guys. You buy January, you get December for free. Thanks for watching Puck Time, guys. We'll see you tomorrow with more picks.